So I had a two-part question. The show I remember you most from is Freakazoid. So I was wondering what it was like working on a show where it had that kind of subversive humor where it was made for kids, but if they watch it now, they catch a lot of Easter eggs.
Well, you know, as I did it, I just sat there and thought I was part of a 3-ring circus. But all I was doing was playing a monotonic cop who came in with non sequiturs when they get a Sunday, stuff like that, and watched the animals in the animal house cavorting around me in terms of dialogue, in terms of situation, in terms of performance. So I thought it was cute. I liked it, and had no idea that my monotonic cop would even be remembered with all of the zanies and the looniness that was going on in the show. But it was a fun show to do. And I forget, who was the guy who played Freakazoid?
I remember you more than him.
He was the star. I think he even created the show. So you ought to look that up and pay him homage because he had a damn good show. Thank you.
My second question, actually, I was just wondering if you could tell me to cut it out.
Cut it out. Easy.
First
You're
of all,
getting a cuter and cuter all the time.
it's all for you. First of all, I'd like to thank you for your whole history of acting. We've enjoyed it thoroughly, both my parents, myself, my husband, my kids.
She's married!
We went on IMDb on the way here. I got a little car sick, but I was trying to look up everything you've ever done that was listed. And I started thinking maybe there were more things you were in than you weren't in, as far as series, television, and movies. Anyway, my question is, having read several biographies of the women you worked with on Mary Tyler Moore's show, I wondered if you had any stories to share about Cloris Leachman or Betty White or any of the other women you worked with on that show.
Well, the women you mentioned are strumpets.
So you should have some good stories, right?
Their looseness is legion.
You might be getting some phone calls later as this is going out on the internet.
What?
It was me. I was saying those women might be calling you later for slander. This is going out on the internet.
Oh.
Okay, he's fine. Never mind.
The world knows that. They practically take out advertisements. But with Cloris, that's a special case. That's a special case. I think she was a Miss Chicago. Either Miss Chicago or Miss Illinois. But I really dug Cloris a lot. And, well, we used to get chummy, you know. Never all the way. But Cloris doesn't like fat. And I've always carried excess poundage. So we were getting hotter and hotter with each other. Finally, Cloris said to me, okay, you lose 30 pounds, and we'll get it on. I said, okay. So I worked at it, and I have to tell you, we were both very relieved when I only lost 29. So that's the story of my life.
Thank you.
My name is Mark, Mr. Asner. It's a real honor to get to talk with you, and I've admired your entire career, but the Mary Tyler Moore Show is my all-time favorite show. I especially love all the scenes in Lou's office. I just have one question. How similar were Ted Knight and Ted Baxter in real life, or were they similar at all?
The best story I could give you an answer to that is, a year or two into the show, Ted came to Alan Burns, one of our two producers, and he said, I want to quit. And Alan said, why? He said, oh, I just can't take it away. People confusing me with Ted Baxter and that idiot, the egotist, that vain, this, that. I just gotta, I can't take it anymore. And Alan spent a half hour at least convincing him, Ted, people comprehend the difference between you and Ted Baxter. They know it's an actor, that you're an actor, that you're a consummate actor, that you're a funny, wonderful, consummate actor, playing this character, and they can distinguish, they know this, they know this, they know this. And after a half hour, Ted was finally convinced not to quit the show. At that point, Jim Brooks, the other producer, walks in and says, hey, Ted, how does it like to be thought of as the biggest schmuck in the world? So there were those elements to Ted. He's the funniest man I ever knew, but I think he was a genius. I think he was a comic genius. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Mr. Asner, I was wondering what it was like working on Hot in Cleveland with Betty White again and the other three women on that show.
Well, it was wonderful because John Lovitz, I thought, was out of sight. He was wonderful. He was wonderful in that show, and I thought, he's the funny piece of the show. He's a goddamn riot. So I said, I'm just going to be coasting through here. So I was very surprised that it came off as well as it did, and that it was as polished as it was. Because when we did Mary Tyler Moore, we rehearsed for 5 days and put it on the 5th night, and we thought we were the cat's meow. They slam banged this goddamn thing into 2.5 days. I mean, it's hurry up and die. So it was a very complex show with the 3 girls and Betty and all the other added people. So I was very impressed that they were able to slap all this together and it looked as good as it did. So it's a credit to them, particularly the producers, who I don't think said hello to me, to get it all done, put it all together, and make it as attractive as they did.
Thank you. And also thank you for what you do for the autism community.
Well, thank you very much. My son is with me. He's handling me on this engagement. And he's the executive director of Autism Speaks in Southern California. I don't like him, but I feel it looks good that we should be together.
Hello, Mr. Asner.
How are you?
I'm fine.
You don't feel sick anymore? No temperature?
I'll manage.
How's your blood pressure?
I don't know.
No.
Well, I have a 2-part question.
What?
When you were cast as Carl Fredricksenin in Disney and Pixar's Up, did they use your personality for the lead role?
People like to think so, and I'm sure you're one of them. I don't know how you get off doing that. I guess so. I guess so. They thought I'd fill that bill of gas.
And speaking of Up, if there was a sequel, would you be interested in reprising your role?
No, I'm going to play Russell the next time.
And speaking of autism, I have that kind of illness.
Do you?
Yes.
I think you have wonderful presence for an autistic person, and I commend you, and I thank you for bringing it up.
I go to this recreation center called the Ark of Tempe.
Well, I know that I run into a number of people here who either have family members or who are associated with autism. I think you're doing very well, and I think you have a future on your hands.
Thank you. I'm a college student, and
What?
I'm majoring in game technology.
I'm sorry.
He's a college student majoring in game technology.
Good for you. I wish you the best.
Can we talk to him after the panel? Would that be okay?
I just want to ask you one more thing.
Okay, one more.
Could you tell me to beat it and get out of here?
What?
Could you tell me to beat it and get out of here, please?
He wants you to tell him to beat it and get out of here.
Get out of here. Beat it. Beat it. That's what teaches me patience, and that's what gives me hope to hear that young man.
Hello. First, I want to say sorry about yesterday. I think I cried on you.
What have you done for me lately?
Well, I had two questions.
Two?
One was, do you still hang out with Betty White and Cloris Leachman?
They're busy bees. They really are bees. And I guess you could call me a drone. In a benevolent sense. I don't see them much. Betty is, is 90. I was at her birthday party. And what a broad. She's busy all the time. And you look at Betty and I don't want to talk to her or say anything that might hurt the superstructure. We've got to keep it going. And she does the best she can, and she's the sweetest, most cooperative thing you've ever seen. Cloris would do anything for me as well. I still have to lose 30 pounds.
And the second question was, would you ever consider doing a podcast or being a guest on a podcast?
Would you be a guest on a podcast, an internet radio show?
I really love the show called Nerdist, and I think it'd be amazing. So.
Be a guest on what?
An internet radio show, a podcast.
Oh, I think so. I think I've done some.
Thank you.
Thank you. Where is that restroom located?
Right out these doors.
I'll tell you what, just go get a bottle.
We got glasses right there.
The picture's already full.
You really want me to leave you alone on stage? I'm afraid for them.
I am too. I can't reach that far.
Perfect, you're safe.
Just go get the bottle.
I wish I could say you're the first celebrity who said that when I walked up to the mic. As someone who's actually old enough to have watched Mary Tyler Moore the first time around, and loved it, thank you, I wanted to ask you about Lou Grant. Not the character, the show. I thought it was really interesting that it was a spin-off, but it went from a comedy to a drama. And I'm wondering how much influence you had in saying, look, I'll do the character, but let's make it more of a drama than a comedy, and how you felt about that. And then I have a second follow-up, and I want to hear your answer to that.
Didn't have anything to do with making the choice. That was done when I was asked to do a show. I said, fine. As long as Alan Burns and Jim Brooks will produce it, they said, fine. But after a month or so of thinking, they said they came back and said they wanted to do an hour show. Take me from television back into print journalism, which is what I was always boasting about coming from. I said, fine. I thought they could do no wrong. Little did I know they didn't know their asses from a hole in the ground. So for almost 2 years, it was like a shakedown cruise for the Lou Grant show, figuring out what to do on an hour show.
Well, the show I thought was brilliant, and I wonder your feeling about CBS, how guilty they felt about canceling that, because I think they canceled it for other reasons.
Yeah, well, my political sentiments at the time became voiced, and it went against the government policy at the time, the Reagan policy of maintaining repression in Central America. My particular focus was on El Salvador, and it antagonized a lot of people. I won't go into the particulars of what it. They made me seem unpatriotic, and they did enough pressure that CBS canceled the show.
What do you want from a network that also canceled the Smothers Brothers?
Sorry.
What do you want from a network that also canceled the Smothers Brothers?
Oh, and they tried to intimidate Murrow. So,
And Howard Asner.
they are the kingly network, but they can also be gross at times.
Well, I thought you were brilliant. I've enjoyed everything you've done. Thank you.
Thank you.
I just wanted to say, Mr. Asner, that as a fellow University of Chicago graduate, I'm amazed and in august company with you, and I'm so happy that you're here in Phoenix this morning with us. The question I have for you is, sort of what led you from the University of Chicago into acting? What was your decision-making that propelled you into the acting career?
You can blame the University of Chicago. Acting there was strictly extracurricular. So, first of all, I lived in the Burton Judson courts, the main dormitory residence at the University of Chicago. And
I used to eat there.
while I was there, they decided to start a closed-circuit radio station in the dormitory system. So I had done radio in high school and loved it. Told my roommate about it, who was involved in the university theater, which was all extracurricular. And he said, well, let me hear you read. And I read, and I knocked his socks off. So I said, by all means, go read. So they were doing Richard II, and I read for that. I'd never done Shakespeare. And I ended up doing the Duke of York in that radio production. Well, I decided to go to summer school so I could get out of the University of Chicago as quickly as possible. I didn't want to be in school. And he wasn't going to summer school, but he came bustling home one day and said, listen, we're doing Cathedral for the summer production. You can do any of the roles in it, go read for it. I went and read for it, and I ended up doing the lead. And Fritz Weaver was also supposed to do, it was a double casting type thing, but he was busy elsewhere. So he came back and did the lead in the fall version. I played Third Tempter. It's a great play, great poetry. I loved it. And I got hooked. And eventually, not eventually, very quickly my studies went into the toilet. And what little the University of Chicago demands of you, I failed to meet with and dropped out of school.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Lou Grant was a big fan of John Wayne's. And you got to work with John Wayne in The Great Howard Hawks in El Dorado. Did you enjoy working with John Wayne, and would Lou Grant have liked him?
Too many connections.
John Wayne was a very entertaining individual. He led was one of the leaders of the group which blacklisted most liberally suspected actors in Hollywood. He and Ward Bond and Roy Brewer were the head of the group that kept actors from working on Hollywood. I met him, and on the first day, he used some subtle ploys at trying to intimidate me. Unfortunately, I survived them and slid past them, and went on to impress Howard Hawks, and grudgingly think that John Wayne was a hell of an entertainer, a hell of a performer, a hell of an interesting individual, even though he was a son of a bitch and blacklisting other actors.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. In 2006, you played the role of a network executive in a TV show called Studio 60. The first 4 episodes up until Christmas had really strong ratings, and then they took you guys off like for about maybe 5 weeks during the some sort of event. Maybe it was the Winter Olympics, I'm not sure. But anyways, do you think that if you had not had that hiatus, would that show have gone on for another several seasons?
Absolutely. I also thought that they got so involved with the love affairs of the 2 young guys. The breaking up, that if Aaron could somehow have just skirted around dealing with the other people rather than the affairs d'amour of the 2 guys, I think we would have intrigued a lot more people and kept going.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Hello, Mr. Asner. I'm a young aspiring filmmaker, and I was just wondering what qualities you personally, as an actor, look for in a movie director.
That he's totally interested in listening to me. First of all, I would say that most of the directors who have impressed me in life have been actors as well. I love acting directors. They know where they're coming from. They know how to talk to actors. And they are Mark Rydell, Leo Penn, Sidney Pollack, you name them. They're of the finest. Clint Eastwood, for God's sake. They're all over the place, but they're good. The other standard I use for a director is if he has an idea and he casts me, and I come in, and I have a different idea. He at least is willing to watch my idea, and if he can incorporate it into his major overall plan, he lets me. If not, then we're going to be in trouble, and I will have to eat crow and do what he says, I guess. I've had trouble with some directors. I couldn't follow their system. I couldn't do their bidding. But amazingly enough, Which Man, Poor Man was a very good example of that. We succeeded. There are other cases, and I can't remember. But if the director can impress me that he's listening to me and sees what I'm about and can convince me that his has more facets than mine, I'm quite willing to buy that. And I'm quite willing to be grateful that he's taken the time to show me. As long as they can show me, I buy it.
You have been a huge inspiration. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, we only have time for one more. So one more, the littlest. Go for it.
I was wondering why you decided to start acting.
I think I started acting so I wouldn't have to go to a psychiatrist's office. Acting for me was adventure. It was change. It was something I could do well because I fantasized, and I could bring to life my fantasies. It was escape. It was escape from reality. And so I chose that. There was a famous psychiatrist who said that actors are people without centers, and that the reason they act is to keep looking to fill up that center. And for a long time, I suppose, maybe I had an empty center, but acting finally filled it for me. And I think you'll find I have more gut, physical gut, than anybody. I have a very large center, which is very largely filled. So I think I've stopped escaping, I've stopped running. I now think of acting as my craft. And it is the only thing that really means life to me. So acting is life.
Thank you, Mr. Asner. One more time, thank you. All right, and coming up after this, you have a half-hour break, but then we have